Hi guys, my name is Matt, aka Ihrme, and I want to talk to you about the Blizzcon opening ceremony. Opening ceremony was last night. I was incredibly excited to come home and watch it. Rushed home as quickly as I could. It starts here in the UK at about 6 p.m. So not a massive amount of time to get home, but it was something I really wanted to be there and see live. Got home straight on the TV, opened up Twitch onto the Twitch Blizzard channel. I kind of made it with like a minute to spare. Just caught the end of whoever was doing the pre show. I was kind of confused actually because I turned on at like 2 minutes past 6, and they were still talking about there's still the pre show, so there must have been a bit of a delay on the Twitch app on the Amazon Fire Stick. But I was super excited to get into it. And I guess one of the reasons I was really excited about this year more than potentially previous years was, one, we had so many leaks, leaks or theories about what was coming. So we had big suggestions around World of Warcraft Shadowlands. We had that image of Bolvar, which was all but, I think it was even basically confirmed because it was found on the Blizzard gear store. People were talking about Diablo 4, and a couple hours before the show, there was the tweet by, I think maybe Towley. I'm not 100% sure who tweeted it, but I saw it, where they were talking about there was going to be graphic content in the opening ceremony, and that was, people were pretty much convinced that was either going to be, pretty much convinced it was Diablo 4. I saw a couple of people joking maybe that was going to be Sylvanas doing something else utterly horrific, which turned out not to be the case. There was kind of talks about Overwatch 2, and it wasn't something I was super paying attention to, but there was talks about Overwatch 2 and a very PvE experience, and these things were all kind of all very exciting. It's a weird one where I think as well BlizzCon, though, it maybe has lost a little bit of its excitement now because of who's presenting it. I think losing Chris Metzen, for example, him doing the Warcraft stuff. I know he hasn't done it for a few years now, but he that power of when he was talking about it was definitely something which used to be a real draw, and his enthusiasm. Not to say that the guys doing it now aren't as enthusiastic, but yeah, all in all, it was something I was really excited for. I got to see it pretty much live, maybe a couple of minutes behind where it was happening, but enough that I wasn't getting any spoilers from the internet or anything like that. I think it's probably right to start. I'm going to kind of go through a couple of things. I'm going to go through what I was liked, what I was really interested in, what I wasn't super fussed by, and I'm going to kind of do that from top to bottom in terms of the stuff which was announced that I wasn't super excited by, or just didn't really isn't something which I know I'll play a lot. And that's not to say that it's not relevant, but just doesn't necessarily appeal to me. We'll work through that. We'll talk about what I thought was interesting, especially around cinematics and stuff like that. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about. And then really about the stuff that I was really interested in, and say some of the stuff why I was excited for it. And one of the things that came out for me was that the thing I was most excited about, and which I was most impressed and I don't know the word would be, maybe overcome by, was or really drawn into, was not what I was expecting to be. For me, I always thought World of Warcraft was going to be the one that that was the peak, and it turned out not to be. But we can go on that later. So some general thoughts about the whole ceremony. One thing which kind of really stood out was that it felt very quiet compared to other years. So I always thought, I always remember, again, going back to Chris Metzen years and years ago, you'd have him coming in, he'd be saying Horde and stuff, and people would be cheering. And this year it felt a lot more quiet, which was weird. It was like it kind of took a little bit of the sting out. They were talking about things and announcing things, and then it was just kind of silence, and you were like, does nobody care? I think sometimes I was more excited than the people who were there seeing it in hand, or first time, or live in front of them, which is kind of incredible when you think the amount of money and time you must be spending to get there. You would think you would be super invested into it. All in all, I enjoyed the whole thing, and it did not disappoint for me, which was really good. The other thing I would probably want to talk about before talking about any of the content, any of the games, was the way they handled the kind of the controversy. And that was, again, one of the reasons I was really excited for BlizzCon. Was I felt like that maybe Blizzard have had a really tough year in terms of they've got a lot of things wrong. Their usual standards maybe have not been met, and therefore I thought maybe this year they would really go all out to try and combat that, and I think they maybe have. But we just switch back to the controversy, obviously, with the Hong Kong protests and stuff like that. It kind of felt like a slightly non-apology. They were saying, they haven't met the standards they want to live up to, and they have not they've not done what they should, but they didn't then say in the future we're going to do this and this is how we're going to handle it. And it was kind of a general comment of acknowledgement that they were probably wrong, and they've got things wrong, but no real detail on how they're going to deal with it in the future. And this was probably to be expected. I kind of probably been very surprised if they came out and really got into the detail of it, because everything they covered was really short and snappy. Even the big cinematics they showed, the cinematics almost were as long as the talk after. So that was my kind of overriding opinion of the opening ceremony. Generally good. So let's just dive into some of the games. So I'm going to start from the bottom, the stuff which for me wasn't kind of super exciting, or not something I was super interested in, or really they kind of glanced over. So Starcraft II is probably the one which I felt like they most was just kind of by the by. They announced a new, I'm not even the word for it was, a new leader or something for multiplayer. In all honesty, I've never played Starcraft 2. I've never played StarCraft. Never played Starcraft 2. I own it, but I think I installed it and then just couldn't get into it. And so I'm not a StarCraft player. I was never going to be super interested in what they had to announce here, but it really felt there wasn't really not a lot to say for Starcraft 2. And I think that was where one of the times where they kind of were like, oh, we got this, and there was just kind of silence, and you were like, right, okay, does nobody, is nobody fussed or what? So I think there's nothing really to talk about on StarCraft 2, which means I can swiftly move on to Heroes of the Storm, a game which is interesting. I played quite a lot of Heroes of the Storm when it first came out, and there was a couple of heroes which I played a lot of right at the beginning, and then over time I've just not picked it up, and I've never played it again. And one of the things, so I think since, for example, they released Heroes of the Storm 2.0, I've not played it since then, and I don't even know how many years ago that was. What I thought about that was that Deathwing looked very interesting. I thought it was very cool that they were giving away that for free for everyone who was attending. I thought that was a nice move and a good way to build a bit of hype. And I think that the fact they were giving all the heroes away for free until, I want to say November 10th, but I may have that date wrong, was very interesting, because what I actually thought when I heard that was, oh, maybe I should re-download Heroes of the Storm and give it a go. And because, since I've played, there's been so many extra heroes added and stuff like that. Actually, that now would be a good time to jump in, see if there's anything I'm really enjoying, and really, wants to get me back into that game. So I think that was a smart move to try and lure people back in. But I think that's all I can really say on Heroes of the Storm. There wasn't a massive amount of stuff to be said. I will definitely try it again. So I think if that was what they were trying to achieve, was get people back in the game, then for me, probably they have achieved that. So well done. Hearthstone. Hearthstone again is a game that when it first came out, I played quite a bit of, and then really stop playing when they start releasing more expansions. I think card games are something where you're either kind of really into them and you're putting the money and time and, well, I guess I may be wrong, but I feel like mainly money. You've got to put a lot of money into these things to buy the packs, to get the cards to and that I might be completely wrong on that. And I'm willing to accept I am if but my experience was that I was spending, a fair bit of money on cards and packs and all that sort of stuff. So what they released a new expansion. I was watching it. I was kind of confused what was going on. I don't, they kept talking about the Explorers League, which I've heard of from World of Warcraft, but I didn't know what it was in terms of Hearthstone. They announced a new mode. Is it called Battlegrounds, which is very similar auto battlers, which that seemed like an interesting concept, and I probably will go and have another look at that and see how that looks, and that may be something which pulls me back in. But one of the things that I did think was interesting about the whole Hearthstone announcement, because there was quite a big announcement. The it's not a cinematic; it was like an animation, I guess, animated trailer, whatever it was they had. But that was how to put it. That was interesting enough, and the cards that they then displayed are well enough animated that I was sitting there watching it with Jenny, and she's never played Hearthstone, but she was like, "Oh, this looks interesting," and I'm gonna go and download it. So she sat and downloaded it on her phone, and it was that, just the art style and what they were talking about appealed to somebody who has no interest in Blizzard games. Jenny does not play anything from Blizzard. She doesn't play World of Warcraft, so none of when they're talking about this specific dragon, she's like, I don't know what that means. But she liked the way that the cards were upgrading, and even the point where I think they were talking about Ysera, and they were she was like, well, why doesn't Ysera upgrade? This doesn't make any sense. And I was like, well, I don't know why it doesn't, but it's just not the way the cards work. But what I thought was interesting there was that you have you always think BlizzCon's there for the people who love Blizzard games and the people who are really engaged in this. But actually, you can bring a third party into this who isn't exposed to these games. Doesn't Jenny plays like mobile games, but she doesn't play any any PC games or anything like that. She has a Switch, which she plays things like Stardew Valley on, but not playing Hearthstone or anything like that. You can show her these things, and actually they're like, oh, yeah, I'm interested in this. I didn't know anything about this. I'd never heard of it until now, but I'm interested. So it just shows that BlizzCon is a really good advert. And, if you can actually get people to watch it, and you can get people to watch the ceremony, it is very compelling, and it's very powerful, and it's a good advert for Blizzard. So that was Hearthstone. It's something I will probably go and watch a few more of the panels on throughout the weekend, and maybe that may get me back into it. So again, kind of similar to Heroes of the Storm, there was enough there which kind of interested me or piqued my interest. I'm like, oh yeah, that game exists, and I've not played it for years, but I could jump back in and try and enjoy it. The next one, which was one of the things I was really excited for, and then Warcraft probably could swap in terms of how excited I was for them, was Diablo 4, which is obviously a new Diablo game. In all honesty, my experience of Diablo was that I got Diablo 3 for free when they did the annual pass many years ago. I think it may have been during sort of Wrath of the Lich King time. I can't quite remember. But they gave away Diablo 3 for free. And I got it then, and I had it for a while, and I never played it. And I was kind of like, well, I got this. I don't know if I'm interested. Then I played it, and I really enjoyed it. And I've played it through... I played through the campaign a couple of times on a couple of different heroes. I never got into the running through higher and higher difficulty over and over again, but I put quite a good amount of time into it. Enough to say that I enjoyed it, and when I heard there was going to be a new Diablo, I was excited. I then played through the expansion, which I'm trying to think what the name of that was right now, and Reaper of Souls. I bought Reaper of Souls because I enjoyed it. enough. And again, played that through a couple of times. And then played through things like adventure mode for a bit. And, I'm not a constant Diablo player, and I've not probably played it for a while, but I'm definitely interested enough in Diablo that I will jump on and look at this expansion not this expansion, this whole new game, and probably get it, and probably put a decent amount of time into it when it comes out. So when I'd heard that was coming out, that was something I was excited about. Having only played Diablo 3, I didn't ever play Diablo 2 or Diablo 1. One thing that immediately stuck out when they started showing that cinematic was I was like, Jesus, this is a lot darker than I remember. A lot of the cinematics from Diablo 3 that I remember had a kind of a bit of a focus on the angels, and felt very good and bad, while this really was very, very dark and very gory. And again, going back to that tweet where they were talking about the explicit content, I was like, okay, this is what the explicit content was, because you had that cloak of blood being produced. And spoiler alert if you haven't already seen it, but that was not necessarily what I was expecting because I don't have the experience of the other Diablos. But then when you kind of move forward to see the gameplay was like, oh yeah, I recognize all this, but it seems to be a lot darker, maybe a bit more of a mature. I don't know if mature is the right word, because I don't know what the rating on Diablo 3 was, but a bit darker, a bit more adult. And it looks very good, and I will 100% be picking Diablo 4 up when it comes out, and I will play it, and I have no doubt that I will enjoy it. So that was something which I was very excited about. And I was kind of originally, when they first started talking about Diablo straight off the bat, and it was the cinematic first, wasn't it? They did the original talk, then straight into the cinematic. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect Diablo 4 to be the big announcement. That was maybe a subtle way of apologizing for the Diablo Immortal, which apparently is still in development, and it's apparently at BlizzCon. They did not mention it at all during the opening ceremony, because I think they knew how badly that went down last year. But apparently it actually looks quite good, which I was kind of surprised to hear. I was doing a bit of research before, because I was like, before I recorded this, I was like, okay, these are all my thoughts, and I was like, wait, did I forget anything major? So I went through and just reading through everything, which is, and somebody made a little comment that Diablo Immortal is available, and I was like, oh wow, okay. I wasn't sure if that thing had just been, but apparently it's still there. So that's Diablo. Looks very good. The cinematics look very good. I guess it goes without saying, Blizzard do cinematics really well, and times during that I was like, wow, you almost can't believe this is a cinematic. It looks so realistic. Which leads me on to the second most exciting thing for me, which was World of Warcraft Shadowlands. There was a lot of hype building up to this because of the leaked images of Bolvar as the Lich King. He's obviously been the Lich King longer than Arthas was ever the Lich King, and I, as a World of Warcraft player, I have not really engaged with Bolvar. I know that during Legion, if you were a Death Knight, you did a bit with him. I think there may be a bit of content in Battle for Azeroth, which involves him, but I have not quite reached that yet. I'm a little bit behind in World of Warcraft because I took a big break from it. I'll hopefully catch up with that soon and start to see what all of that about. But as a story, the Lich King is so so integral to the whole Warcraft experience. Is one of the main stories that everyone kind of loved, and for me, Wrath of the Lich King was probably my favorite expansion. So to see that image of Bolvar looking like a complete badass was very exciting, and you were like, oh my god, what's going to go on? So the trailer steps in, you've got Sylvanas. Sylvanas, is that how you pronounce it? I can't think how you pronounce it off the top of my head. Now I'm thinking about it. Here on the steps of Icecrown Citadel, which was strange. I've seen some of the leaked cinematics from Warcraft, and I wondered whether we were going to get maybe a bit of a break from Sylvanas, and whether people may be starting to feel a bit of Sylvanas fatigue, because, you know, as a big bad, I think probably big bad sort of person, she's kind of a bit divisive, whether you're interested in it or not. So she's stepping up, she fights Bolvar, she wins, she destroys the helm. I can't remember what the helm's called now, top of my head. That will pop back into my head later at some random time. But she destroys the Lich King's helmet, which I believe is the helmet which is supposed to give him control over all the undead. And then the world is split, and it's kind of split, and access to the Shadowlands is there above Icecrown Citadel, and you end up with that shot of Icecrown Citadel pointing in the sky, and then it mirrored above it. It was weird one. This cinematic was, although it's something which I'm really excited for, because it's World of Warcraft, it's something I've put so much time into for years and years and years. The cinematic was kind of probably one of my least favorite World of Warcraft cinematics. You know, if I go back in time and think about them, you know, the Wrath of the Lich King one was incredible with Arthas. The original WoW cinematic was incredible. The Burning Crusade one was brilliant. Legion was good. I can't even think what Battle for Azeroth. No, Battle for Azeroth was good. I enjoyed that one. But this, I don't know, this kind of just raised a lot of questions for me, and maybe I need to go back and rewatch it, but I didn't get sort of, you know, my arm hairs raising and stuff like that, and, you know, the real sense of like, oh my god, what am I watching, that I have previously with the cinematics. You know, the sort of questions I was thinking I was watching it is, there seems to be constant trips in how powerful people are. I was like, why is Sylvanas suddenly so powerful she can defeat the Lich King? So, you know, I dug a bit into that, and yes, okay, Arthur's apparently got most of his power from Frostborn, and so Bolvar's always going to be weaker, but, you know, there seems to bounce around how powerful people are. Presumably her strength's coming from the entity that we saw in the sky. I haven't quite been able to understand who that is. There seems to be a lot of speculation. I don't know whether any of it's properly nailed down, or if it's all theories, so I need a bit more of a reading than that. Bolvar, you know, being defeated kind of as easily as he was. You know, what's his story going to be? Presumably he's going to be a major character in this whole Shadowlands expansion. And, you know, there was a moment in the cinematic where I really thought Sylvanas was maybe going to put the helmet on, and maybe she'd become the Lich Queen. And I was like, oh, is this going to be an expansion about re-defeating the Lich King / Queen? But no, didn't go that way. She broke it. And then that then raises the question that, you know, if there must always be a Lich King, and that the helmet is what controls the undead, is the world now going to be in chaos because the undead are running free? So there's a lot of questions there, and you know, we saw a bit of gameplay, and I guess I've spoken quite a bit now about World of Warcraft, but I guess really what I'm going to have to do with this one probably is make a whole separate video once I've sat down and watched all the content, because I think this is going to be a really big expansion for WoW. I think Battle for Azeroth has gone down pretty poorly. You know, there's some of the design decisions they've made, such as the Azerite armor and all that stuff, has kind of not worked out for them. So therefore, I think this one is going to be worthy of a video. So I'm probably going to leave WoW there now, and I'm going to come back to it once I've seen all of it and give you a full breakdown of what I think of Shadowlands, of what they've announced. Now, where that leaves me now is the thing that I watched, which I was most excited about. And that was after watching it. Even when I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is incredible, which is Overwatch 2. Now, the Overwatch 2 cinematic was the best cinematic I'd seen. And all the Overwatch cinematics are incredible. But I was really blown away with it. To kind of go through my history with Overwatch, again, it's weird. All these games, when they first come out, I put a lot of time into, and I kind of fade out of them. World of Warcraft is the game which I've consistently played throughout time. But Overwatch, way back when I was in the beta, played a whole chunk of that, really enjoyed it. It kind of came out live. I was like, brilliant, it's out live. Played it a bit more, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm done. I've continued to watch things like the cinematics when they've all come out, and I think the whole Overwatch universe is very exciting and very fun, and something which I think would be brilliant to know more about, which I think why when they've started to announce this PvE content where we're going to maybe see a bit more of the world, I think that is very, very exciting. For me, it was the best or the most exciting thing they showed, because even though it's Overwatch 2, and I think there's maybe a little bit of clarity needed on, right, well, what's Overwatch 1 now and what's Overwatch 2? Does Overwatch 1 disappear? Does it continue? Does it, because they were like, we're not splitting the community when we need it. So that was a little bit confusing to understand. That is something which I'm going to continue to watch. I'm probably going to watch all the footage they've got from BlizzCon over today and tomorrow. And something I'm really excited for. I think that was BlizzCon. That was the BlizzCon opening ceremony. I've spoken about it for 25 minutes. I'll try and trim that down slightly, because there's probably a lot of me like, I actually really enjoyed BlizzCon, the opening ceremony. There was a lot of stuff which they announced, which I was very excited to dig into more. The big three, which I've mentioned, Diablo, WoW Shadowlands, and Overwatch 2. I will be trying to pick up as much content as I can. And maybe what I'll do is I'll try and, once I've watched it all, try and do a video talking about it, all of it, and kind of give a final impression that I've been left with, because obviously we saw these things for they were given maybe 10 minutes each, maybe slightly more, but so we've only really scraped the surface. All in all, very exciting. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming out, and I'm very excited. I think this is because of having those three big things all in one opening ceremony. It was probably one of the more exciting opening ceremonies I can remember. There's always been stuff in those opening ceremonies which I've been excited for, but this time to see all three of them, I was like, wow, this is a lot of content. And yes, there was actually more than three, but for me, things like Hearthstone and were kind of on the back burner, just not something which I'm going to be diving into, and not a must buy. And so yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Very excited to keep picking up a bit more information on it. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. You can follow me live on twitch.tv/Ihrme, which will be here. He says semi-confidently. And we'll hopefully be playing some of these games live on stream. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again soon.